Hey, we're live. I wonder how long people have been staying there watching me before I came online. 2 or 3 seconds. It's January 11th. It's the big day after
Such narcissism.
the big day. Anyway,
yeah. We had the ultra exciting damp squib, didn't we?
yeah, which we're going to talk about, and we're going to talk about what we did do, what we didn't do, what we were horribly disappointed with, and it's kind of like Festivus. You watch Seinfeld, you know. Festivus is an alternative Christmas tradition where they all gather around a pole they put in their living room and tell each other how disappointed they are in each other during the year. So we can do our own version of Festivus with the SEC Bitcoin ETF announcement. But let's let a few more people roll in. Hey, everyone. I assume everyone can hear us. Let me just go to the chat here. Oh, yeah. Hi, Core, Andrea, Andre. Awesome. Great to have everyone with us. And I'll do a couple more housekeeping items, more people rolling in. So I hope everybody had a happy ETF announcement. I don't know there's probably a clever way for me to frame that, but
Well, it wasn't even an announcement, was it? Let's face it. When you file for an ETF, it's a database exercise. If you get approved, it goes into a database and suddenly becomes a thing, and off you go. But it's not as if anyone's going to do a trumpet announcement from the rooftops to say, "Well done, Bitcoin. Welcome to the land of ETF." So I think everyone was expecting some kind of major announcement on the news, but actually, it's just admin.
It's just like a line of data came across. And I can see Bitcoin's pushing up now. I took a look at the volatility surface just a few moments ago, and of course it's skewed over to the call side now in the short term.
What's the money's done?
The money for I didn't check, but
all
right. So we still got a few people rolling in. Let me just get started 3 minutes after. We don't have a lot of time today. We're going to try and keep it to about 30 minutes.
The money's all up. Okay, so it indicates that it's probably going to push.
Yeah, and I didn't check what DVol was doing, but we can talk about that later on too. But it looks like it might want to push up. So, all right. So today's agenda, as always, we're going to take a look at the current market. We're going to review some trades and some strategies that I've got on in a little discretionary account that operate just for the show. And we're going to talk about the BTC ETF news and how we did in ongoing strategies. And we'll just sort of a general discussion about that. I'm sure we've got a lot of input from everyone here. So let me just go to screen share, and we'll just start off by reviewing some charts. I brought up the ETH chart. Now, I don't have any ETH trades on. I didn't trade ETH, I think, since November. In December, it was just in a channel. It didn't really do anything, as we can see. This is a 4-hour chart, and all the month of December was just a boring showdown. Of course, there was a great opportunity if you're just selling, top and bottom of the range, the straddles or iron condors, whatever, what have you. But we did make a big move here. It came from around here up there. What is that? That's 12%. If you take from there, that 10-12%. That's pretty sizable. Now, what I did was I drew up my next area of resistance, vive la resistance. And, it's around 3K. No big surprise there. I didn't look at the open interest. I assume that it's going to start gathering there for the end of the month and certainly for February. But I decided I was going to jump into a trade this morning, and I just decided at the last minute, because it's kind of in no man's land, I'd rather wait for it to make a ridiculous move up, and then I will be all over that thing like a fly on excrement. There's another, I don't know, there must be something else I could say, but I'm not that refined. So if it gets up around 3,000, I would expect it would at least, make a push to it. I'll be selling the mid 3,000s call spreads. Maybe I'll look for a directional butterfly on the way down or a debit spread on the way down for retracement back in no man's land. Who knows? But basically, all I'm trying to say is I'm not going to be touching this thing. I think unless it can make a real push up towards 3,000, then I'll start to get interest. And even if it gets to 2,800 or something, 2,900, maybe I'll start to scale into some positions, in the mid threes. Perfectly happy to do that. Because, what are the odds? We're always going to catch top and bottom, right? Pretty slim. Happens every now and then. We thank our good lucky stars and move on. Bitcoin. And I see I didn't clean up the chart. My bad. So we've got two trades here. This black trade, which was the 12 Jan 50,000, 55,000 short call spread, and the 19 Jan 5260 short call spread. I had those on maybe from the beginning of the month, I think, or maybe I put them on last week, just before the Deribit live call. I actually covered them all profitably before the announcement. So let me just get rid of those because those are now gone. And I don't know what my ROI was. It doesn't really matter. I took them out at a nice profit. But this morning, I did put on a put short spread. So I sold the 40,000s, bought the 38 as cover, and I sold the 51s and bought the 55s. Of course, that would be an iron condor, short iron condor. And these are I didn't put the date in here. I'm sorry. Those are Jan 19s. Here, let me just add to that. I'll just put 19 Jan on there just so we know what they are. Is there a good chance that Bitcoin's going to push up, close to 50 or something over the next few days? Yeah, I think so. That could happen over the next week or two. Richard and I had been discussing, not only this morning, but at times in the past, that Bitcoin's got this habit of not reacting as strongly to news as you'd think it would. And then it's kind of got this delayed reaction. A few days later, a week later, it starts to kick into gear and everybody piles on and it moves. So if people thought it was going up, it wouldn't surprise me if it took a few days or a week before we start moving up. And if those get under pressure, I'm perfectly happy to roll them up, and I'll take care of that. Right now the market sentiment is up, and as I mentioned, the D-vol is pointing up in the short term. I feel pretty good about this short spread, just because hey, it could be here in a heartbeat. It's crypto, anything can happen. But we've got this trend line underneath. It's deep at the bottom of the resistance. And if I've got to roll it, I got to roll it. Obviously, we've got super rapid time decay. We're talking the 19th. What's that? 8 days away. These things are going to decay super fast. But if I get into trouble on those, I'm not very concerned about it. I have sold more of the calls than the puts, and that kind of happened a little bit by accident, so it's a little bit disbalanced. But I'm perfectly happy with that. So that is that.
I got a feeling that we're seeing a vol squeeze on calls at the minute. I think people were assuming it was going to go down. Sold riskies and are now being forced out of them.
Yeah. And we can also talk about the gamma play that it's sort of been holding up until the announcement. Up until the announcement, it was kind of in that 44, 46 range that you want to talk about. Actually, if you want to, I don't know if you want to share anything on your screen or if you just want to chat.
No, there's nothing particular I want to say.
Okay.
I can show you the pulse surface as I see it through the immersive.
Sure.
Screen.
And then we'll get on to our Festivus horrible disappointments talk.
Do you want to unshare your screen while I share mine?
Oh, do I have to do? Okay. Yeah, well, let me turn that off.
Because I thought we had problems there and again. If we didn't do that, there we go.
You're right.
So there's the vol surface. You see that's the exchange expiry. So tomorrow's risk reversal 33%. There's also a 40% funding rate on tomorrow's future. So it looks like people are being squeezed to hell there. The 1 week risk reversal plus 8%. That was actually negative about 3 this morning. And at the money vols, they were 60, so they were up 3 vols on the 1 week. But actually, in the next few days, we're up. And interestingly, Saturday's vol is high, and I think that's probably because there will be an expiry on CME later than the expiry on Deribit. And there's the expectation of volatility during the American day on Friday, and then we drop into the weekend. I suspect that's what we're seeing there. But and we're seeing that the expectation is that people are going to be squeezed out of calls here.
Yeah, we've got a big expiry coming up in January, and there's a lot of concentration up around 50K, I think. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got drawn up to that price at all. So we can see Bitcoin right now; it's sort of 47.5.
Because I think the market, the way the market was positioned, I think people were long the 45s and short the 50s. I'm guessing. Right? So that means that dealers are long the 50s, which means that that will act as a kind of an attractor, but also a break. If that market structure holds.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit then about this SEC ETF degen fiasco. Look, there is a lot of arguments out there that they might go down, they might go up. They both had some valid points. There is some arguments that it would be, buy the news, sell the rumor. As you said, it was the most telegraphed market event in the history of market events. So it's not like it was going to come as any surprise. Everybody knew there was a 90-something% chance of this thing getting approved. But of course, some donut, leaked the news the night before that it was approval. And then they said, oh, that wasn't us and whatever. And then it was leaked again. So basically we had this potential balloon that we were, trying to be sort of long gamma, being careful on the risk side, not selling too much risk. It was tempting as hell. And we did sell some, but the air got let out of that balloon. So when it finally came out, it was like, meh, who cares, right? And we had a feeling that was probably going to happen. We were more inclined to think it might go down, maybe a little bit heavier than maybe other people. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you always get these. You sent me some. I'm not going to say the guy's name. I don't even remember the guy's name. But you sent me some funny article somewhere on Instagram or somewhere, and he's 10 reasons why Bitcoin's going to 1 million. It's like, are you kidding me? The concept of what type of capital input would just stop already. But this guy's got like 250,000 followers. Yeah. Anyways, but the point is everyone out there who wants this thing to go up, and Richard and I, we're in private groups of friends and acquaintances, and some people are heavily into crypto, other ones not so much. But the ones who are heavily in crypto are the hodlers. They want to make millions. Fine, fair enough, I get it. And they've got a very biased opinion, as you'd expect. If I own shares of a stock or something, I want the thing to go up, right? Mm-hmm. Throw off a bigger dividend or whatever. So that's natural. But the market has a way of doing things that are in direct contrast to your wishes. Mm-hmm. My friend John Carter always says that the market's an equal opportunity dream smasher. So we always got to keep that in mind when we're trading. That's always why we got to hedge our bets. Literally, and also why we felt it was more responsible to be not necessarily long gamma, but certainly not heavy short. Like we didn't want to be running this heavy risk coming into, because if there's going to be a multi-standard deviation event, 5, 6, 7 standard deviations, well, this event could have been it. And it sucks getting caught on the other side of that, because it can take you months to dig yourself out of that hole. And that's the last thing we wanted. On the other side, I spent a little bit too much money probably on long options, but I had some really nice scores in there. So was my account at new highs? No, it is not, unfortunately, because I was spending. But I didn't actually spend all that much because I had some nice winners in there here and there. And I think it was last week or the week before I had some nice 600% gains and over 1,000% gains on some positions, which were really nice. It got me to new highs. But I was long everything going into that expires, as a lot of people probably were. It just felt like the wrong thing to do, because if I got caught on the wrong side of that, I would have felt very foolish indeed. So, it's better to be safe than sorry. At the end of the day, we all know it didn't do a heck of a lot. But I do expect it to do stuff. As I mentioned, it's got that delayed effect a lot of the times going into the next week or two. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff happening, including the halving coming up, which is in the spring. I think is it March? I don't remember if it's March.
I think mid-March is estimated to be.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of sentiment out there that we might grind up into the halving, and that would actually kind of make sense to me. So I'm happy to sell calls into that, especially if it's a grind up. That's beautiful for selling calls, right? And if we, any little dips, we'll sell put spreads. I'm perfectly happy to do so. Richard, what are your thoughts on this halving craziness? Actually, before I do that, let me do one thing. I've got the poll here, and I want to publish it. And here's the question. Let me publish it right now. Now the ETF news is a done deal. At least and up until the halving, which is in the spring, do you think we're going to be in an uptrend? Think we're going to downtrend? Or I think, and I broadened it out. I said, look, we got like sort of maybe a 40 to 50K channel. That's a pretty big channel. I'll admit that that's pretty big. Think we're going to channel sideways, or you think we're going to go up or down? Let me know. Up until the halving, which is in March. Anyways, go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the various. Oh, so you want my thoughts on what the halving?
Well, no, maybe more the SEC ETF debacle yesterday, and what you think might be happening now that it's done. And
well, I guess we just need to see what traction these ETFs get in their sales operations.
Well, that could take some time.
Yeah, I mean there'll be a whole momentum, right? Because they're going to call the family offices and the funds are going to call their clients. The family offices are going to call their benefactor who's on holiday on his yacht, and he'll get back and say, "Oh yeah, this Bitcoin thing, maybe." And so everything takes a month, right? Nothing takes less than a month in finance. So that I don't think if there's a rally, it'll be as immediate as everyone hopes. Having said that, we're right in the middle of a rally at the minute.
We're pressing recent highs right now. So
yeah. But looking at the squeezed vols and the massive funding rate on the perps funding rate is 29%, and the future is paying almost 40% for tomorrow. That feels like a squeeze to me.
Yeah.
So we'll see how real this is. These squeezes can last like 12 hours, right? But then they can be uncomfortable when they're happening. As for I'm the last person to ask what this is going to do for the price of Bitcoin. I don't know. My thoughts are this, and I'll probably said something like this before. Up until yesterday, Bitcoin was the counterculture of money. It was money without the involvement of a central bank or a regulator or an interfering busybody government. And as of yesterday, Bitcoin entered the fold of the communist states of America.
Basically, it bent the knee.
Right, and you've had all these Bitcoin guys saying, no, this is our private money, our private banking system. There's no rules. It was completely honest and transparent for the past 10, 13 years of Bitcoin. And actually, for the past 6 months, they've all been praying at the altar of the SEC, and as I put it to some friends, sucking on the teat of Wall Street, hoping that the value of their Bitcoins is going to go up because they're going to be blessed by the SEC. Which to me seems like the biggest sellout in the history of sellouts, right? This is like the rebels bending the knee to the emperor, as you put it. So as far as I'm concerned, as of today, Bitcoin is now a zero. It's a bearer bond paying zero coupon, but actually there's no one guaranteeing it. It's now entirely sentiment and. That runs the risk of being exposed as a house of cards, and as a result of that, I think it's equally likely that the constrained supply drives the price up to $1 million, as the utter worthlessness of the asset drives the price down to zero. I think they're both equally likely, and I suspect in my lifetime we'll see both. And actually that's the reason I'm starting my fund, as we've mentioned on other calls, is that. I don't know whether we're going to $1 million or $0. We're probably doing both, but whichever way we go, we're going to get there in a very volatile way. So, yeehaw, let's trade the vol and
accumulate gold.
And for me, accumulate gold. That's my thing.
And I may have mentioned this on a previous Deribit Live, but if you put yourself in the shoes of a fund manager, and you've got X amount of free allocation right now. How much are you going to put into an asset that doesn't throw off a dividend? It doesn't earn any yield. So you're basically betting that the thing's going to just appreciate.
It's literally that. It's a binary bet on your career, right? Because if you say, "Yep, we're going to put 5% of our fund into Bitcoin," and Bitcoin halves, you're going to get fired. And if Bitcoin doubles, you're going to be seen as a hero. And so you're just tossing a coin to throw your career away.
Yeah, and maybe some funds will say, "Hey, we're going to allocate," but how much are they going to allocate it to it? 0.5%, 2%. I don't know, but it's certainly not going to be 50% of. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if the inflows of money are going to be as big as people think they are.
And also, all the rich people I know who are in Bitcoin are already in Bitcoin.
Yeah, and why do they need an ETF for it?
And in fact, a lot of them I hear about through friends of mine who are wealth managers, wealthy people use Bitcoin as a means of moving money around because actually they keep getting debanked. It's a bizarre thing. 20 years ago when I was a young man, banks were craving for billionaires to be on the books. These days they don't like it. They eject them because they offer concentration risk, regulatory risk, all kinds of risk, and so actually they'd rather you didn't come. And so these billionaires are actually figuring out that actually it's easier to move money around using stable coins and Bitcoin than to use a bank. And these guys have already figured this out 5 years ago.
Yeah, it's true, and it does remind me, and not to pick on one guy in particular, but he's very heavy into crypto, and he's made millions in the past, and he wants to go up again, and he's talking about, well, this will become more widespread adoption and blah blah blah. I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, if I'm going to start using crypto and payment systems, I don't think Bitcoin is the one to do. Now, that being said, I was thinking about that this morning as I was driving here. I was driving my son to school. I remember back in the 80s, you remember if you wanted to watch a movie, of course, there's no Netflix or internet back then. You went down to a local movie store and you rented a movie. And you could choose between VHS and Beta. My dad was like, Beta's the best. That's what news crews use, and that's what television professionals use, and it's a higher quality. And it is the higher quality. It was the better option, but it lost. The better option doesn't always win.
It's because you couldn't get the horrible horror movies on Betamax.
We had everything on Beta in Canada. Maybe you were just disadvantaged in the UK.
Yeah.
Anyways, all I'm trying to say is sometimes the best doesn't win. And I think back when I played hockey when I was a youngster, the best players I knew never made it to the NHL. Some of the other guys did who were good, but they were never the best. But they just kept at it. And sometimes you get what you get. So who knows?
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think this, which is a long way of us saying we had no bloody idea.
I just wanted to burn up a few minutes with a little story about myself.
As far as we're concerned, this is just more shit to trade. Right? This is,
and that's just it. It's an asset that has liquidity, good liquidity, and it's an opportunity for us to. It's got good volatility.
And actually, think about it. We're trading options on a line that is a representation of the collective optimism or depression of a bunch of people of various walks of life. So we're basically just trading a barometer of global sentiment. Yeah. Serotonin. It's a serotonin index.
Yeah. And, we were both very thankful. We were talking a while back about how we're not heavily, we came from the TradFi markets. I feel sorry for all my friends who are still trading the S&P, because the VIX is ridiculously low. It's been low for so long. The markets are at highs, just grinds up. It's all about the Fed. There's not a lot of, quote unquote, trading going on. And it's a tough grind right now, and that will change, and I think things will break loose eventually. But it can take years, for markets to reverse the TradFi markets. So this has been a great distraction and a great thing, a high vol where you can make some money on, kind of. I don't want to say on the side, you can do it full time too, but it's been a wonderful.
And oddly, make money without risking too much. Because if you want to make money on the VIX, if you want to sell vol on S&P, you're selling at 13.5%. Yeah. You better sell a lot if you're going to pay for your Hamptons lifestyle. And when it does move, you're going to get killed.
Yeah, it goes up to 18-19% overnight. Oh boy. Yeah, that's when you get people, in very difficult situations in life for sure. All right, so let's. If anybody has any questions, please shout them out here to us. Core did make a comment back when I was talking about devol at the beginning, and he said that devol is still in the same range, 60, 64 for Bitcoin. Yeah, it did kind of fall back pretty damn quick, didn't it? Back to from whence it came. I don't know if it's creeping up now at all, now as it's pushing highs here or testing recent highs.
61.65.
Where is it?
61.65.
Yeah. So right in that range, yeah. Gregory says that the halving is in mid-April, and you could be right. I guess we could just Google it and find out, but I just knew it was sometime in the spring.
So you do see this on the bull surface. You see the skew starts to the risk reversal just vanished. Wow. Okay, so the squeeze is over. Done. You see how after 3 months the 10 delta risk reversal starts getting a bit steeper. So. The halving is kind of priced into the option surface. I wonder though how much of effect the halving is going to have in reality in terms of supply. Because it's not as if there are that many Bitcoins left to mine, is it? I mean, does half the supply really matter anymore? Maybe it does for this one, maybe not the next one, right?
Good question. I really don't have an opinion on that. I don't know. I think I'm just going to trade the event and watch falls, I suppose.
I think it's historically the pump doesn't happen. I say historically, the past three times.
Yeah.
Three events doesn't make a trend. Right? But,
3 data points. Yeah.
The pump happens or has happened something like 6 months to a year after the halving.
Yeah, you're right. It was a kind of a slow burn. Yeah. Yeah. So it might be an opportunity to sell some good vol at the time. But I don't expect vol to go back down to. I mean, I expect it to kind of go down a bit from here, but certainly not summer vols because we've got the halving coming up, and we have kind of busted some new territory. We've got sort of a bottom, quote unquote, bottom put in low 40s. So if we happen to get down to low 40s and test it, there'll be a lot of great trading around there. I mean, and on the way up,
take the past 2 years as a guide, then actually we're still actually quite low in terms of the average vol.
And to that point, I'd like to say that the asset has quote unquote matured somewhat. So it went from being what the hell is a Bitcoin to it's becoming a bit more part of our lexicon.
I don't think you're ever going to tame the mature the degens.
Well, and it just shows what a degen market there is. And if this was a stock or some other asset, like a traditional asset, and there was 2 leaks before the day, oh my gosh! I mean,
people would be in jail.
Yeah, it's
for sure they're going to hunt down who did that and punish them. If there was a way to utterly piss off the SEC, that was the way to do it, right? That was a stupid stunt. Someone's going to pay for that.
Yeah.
I was going to say this devol is 60-ish. In my experience, trading Bitcoin markets, you can actually be short vol at 60 and above and make money even if vol goes up. It's a strange thing because it's just the dynamics of the market. So if as long as you're patient and careful, you can sort of step in and out with the cracks and pick out your premium. Even if you're selling vol at 60 and it goes to 70, you can still win. You get some squeezy moments and some unpleasantness, but as long as vol stays here or above, I think there's actually good pickings to be had by selling vol or being net short vol.
Yeah, and we love selling calls into a strong market with decent vol, as long as the market doesn't gap up 20% in a day or something stupid. And as you said, you'll have some days where you get uncomfortable or you've got a roll or
the day to sell calls is the day you don't want to, which is when market's pushing on up and it's the vols are all squeezed and the cost of carry is high. And of course that cost of carry is in the future and that future price is in the option price. So the day that you are terrified it's going to go to the moon is the day you should be selling calls. It's like that. My metaphor of the rock climber who's got to come out of the crack in the rock and go around the corner. He's got to step out and put his arse over the 1,000-foot drop, right? That's the way you make money. Yeah,
for sure. I saw that Bitcoin just popped its head above 48,000 for the first time in ages quickly, and then back down. So interesting stuff going on for sure. We do have a question from Sylvanus here. Are you actually retail trading options with Zigdao? Yes, we are. We have a public-facing fund. We started at the beginning of November. I think we're up about 5% or so.
This is it here on the screen. This is the
that's our account right there. Now, do I have the information so you could just go and find us? Actually, I do not, which is kind of weird. And in fact, the owner of Zigdao, I think he's going to be around here in about a week. So I'll try to next week get that information, and you guys can go on there anytime and check it out and see our performance and our trades and all that type of good stuff. Or if you really, really love us, and I know you do, you could join our live streams, right? So we live stream every day. Patreon, which is patreon.com Rogue Trader Academy. And we do at least one live stream a day normally. Sometimes we'll do 2 or 3. Sometimes, well, we always do one every day except on weekends, unless there's something happening on the weekends. Where Richard and I just sit around and chat about the trades that we're going to do or don't do in some cases, and execute those trades so you can see exactly what's going on. You see the tools we're using as well in the background. All right, so we're pretty much out of time. Is there any last questions before we take off of this somewhat anticlimactic SEC announcement that everybody's waiting 3 months for?
Well, you say anticlimactic, but actually we're starting to get some movement, right? I mean, we've come up from 46.5, 46.2 up to almost 48.
Well,
it's a big move, right?
I was expecting, something ridiculous. I was hoping for something ridiculous, like a 20% move in one candle and just freak everybody out. I knew the chances were slim, but that's what I was hoping for.
Well, I think everyone was already hedged for it, so it was never going to happen.
Yeah, I was too long for that to happen.
What will happen
is it made me too much money. That's the problem.
The big move will come when everyone takes the steps away. Yeah, when everyone gets complacent. I mean, look, in the past 3 days, we've had a move up from 43.5.
Yeah.
That's 10%. 43. Yeah, 10%, right? Yeah.
But I'm talking about the day, Richard. So stop contradicting me.
Yeah, but
everybody's waiting for it. But like we said, the air was let out of the balloon early, so it was. We all knew what was happening, right? I don't know. Any last thoughts, Richard, before we sign off?
Yeah, and I think also that the candle isn't happening because everyone feels secretly guilty that they all know the bitch of the SEC, aren't they? All you Bitcoiners out there. You brought this on yourself.
That's right. We're going to insult half the audience. Yes. Some days we dip into the degen pool with you. I have to admit.
Yeah.
But we'll see. It is pushing up. It's threatening highs. We'll see. And I wouldn't be surprised if we were up by next week. Maybe when we're doing our call, maybe we'll be at 52, 53. I wouldn't be too shocked.
We are getting sort of $400 candles in the 3-minute chart. That's $400 in 3 minutes. That's impressive, right?
Yeah, imagine scalping that if you had the proper software, just banging on each side. Ooh, you could make some money, but you could get your head smoked pretty quick too. But that's the young man's game. All right, I think we're out of time here. Let me just check if we got any last questions. My chat button on. Thank you, Andre. Yeah, it was great to see everyone as per usual. And let's let me end the poll just before we stop here. End the poll. Wow, half the people think it's going to be an uptrend. The other half, a channel between 40 and 50K. That's interesting. I'm kind of more inclined to the channel. I think we're going to poke our head up through and then come back down to the channel. So I wouldn't be surprised if we went up to 50 or 51, but then back down into the 40s. And that's where we stayed for quite some time.
I think if assuming our audience is representative, if there's only 11% thinking it's going down, then I think someone's going to force it down. Yeah, because everyone wants to be leveraged up.
Well, yeah, maybe all the market makers are secretly watching our show and basing their trading decisions. Screw our audience. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey, love you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. And until next Thursday, we'll see you then. Hey, and thanks for watching this episode of Deribit Live. If you'd like to learn more, talk, and trade along with us, then check out roguetrader.academy, where we offer an incredibly unique educational and trading experience. There is no other service like this out there, period. Where else can you not only learn, but interact daily with professional, fun traders, with each of us having over 20 years of experience? And for those who just want to watch our daily live stream, you can do so via the links below. So if you want to peek behind the curtains and understand the strategies that we've developed since we started trading options in the 1990s and take your understanding and skills to the next level, then join now and we'll see you on the inside.